Right now, somewhere in your body, a small alarm is ringing. You just checked your phone. Nobody replied to your message. Your chest tightened for half a second. That is not a modern glitch. That is 50,000 years old. You think the biggest threat to your ancestors was a lion in the grass. It wasn't. Lions were rare. Loneliness was constant. And the humans who survived were not the strongest. They were the ones who never got left behind. Picture a small band of early humans on the African savanna, maybe 30 people, no walls. No weapon strong enough to fight off a pack of hyenas alone. One person, by themselves, was basically dead. A group, working together, was almost untouchable. So the real danger was never the predator waiting in the dark. It was the possibility of being cast out of the group that kept the predator away. This is why your brain treats social pain like physical pain. Have you ever said someone hurt your feelings? That is not just a phrase. Neuroscientist John Cacioppo spent decades studying loneliness, and he found something strange. When people feel excluded, the same brain regions light up that respond to physical injury. Rejection does not just feel bad, your brain processes it as damage. Think about that for a second. A cut on your arm and a friend ignoring your texts are, neurologically, closer cousins than you'd expect. Your body cannot fully tell the difference between a wound and a slight. Why would evolution build it that way? Because, for most of human history, exclusion was the wound. If the group walked on without you, you did not get a second chance to fix things. You didn't have a car, a phone, or a nearby town. You had the people around you, or you had nothing. This is where things get stranger. In the 1990s, a psychologist named Kipling Williams designed an experiment called Cyberball. Simple setup. 3 people play a virtual game of catch, except 2 of them are secretly programmed by the computer, and at some point they stop throwing the ball to the third person. That third person is the real subject. They are just watching a ball get passed between 2 dots on a screen over and over without them. Williams found that within minutes people reported real distress, not mild annoyance, genuine hurt. Some described it as similar to grief over a video game, a meaningless one, with strangers they'd never meet, in a task that changed nothing about their actual life. Why would a harmless game trigger something that primal? Because your brain doesn't know it's harmless. It doesn't run a background check on whether this exclusion actually threatens your survival. It just recognizes the pattern. You are being left out, and that pattern used to mean death.
So it reacts exactly as if it still does. Here's the part that reframes everything. You might assume this fear of exclusion is a flaw, a bug left over from a more dangerous past. But anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy argued the opposite. She studied what makes humans different from every other primate, and she landed on something surprising. It's not our intelligence, it's our willingness to raise children together. Hrdy's research on what she called cooperative breeding showed that early human infants were cared for by more than just their mothers.
Aunts, grandmothers, older siblings, unrelated group members. A human baby survived because an entire network of people chose to invest in it. Chimpanzee mothers do almost everything alone. Human mothers never did. And that only works if the group actually stays emotionally bonded to each other. So the fear of being excluded isn't a leftover glitch. It's the emotional infrastructure that made human cooperation possible in the first place. Without it, nobody would have bothered showing up for anyone else's children. Nobody would have shared food during a bad season.
The tribe would have splintered the first time things got difficult. Now look at your own life. Have you ever laughed a little too hard at a joke that wasn't that funny, just because everyone else was laughing? Have you ever agreed with something you didn't quite believe just to avoid an awkward silence? That's not weakness. That's 50,000 years of programming keeping you inside the circle. Consider how this shows up today. You get an email from your boss that just says, "We need to talk." No context, no tone.
Your mind runs through worst-case scenarios before you've even opened your inbox. Why does a 5-word message create that reaction? Because your ancestors' brains evolved to treat any hint of social distance as an emergency. Ambiguity used to be dangerous. If you couldn't read the group correctly, you might not notice you were slipping toward the edge of it until it was too late. Modern life multiplies this 1,000 times over. You are no longer part of one band of 30 people. You are constantly measured against millions, through likes, follows, views, and comments.
Your prehistoric alarm system was built for a tribe. It was never built for an audience that size. So when a post underperforms or a message goes unanswered for hours, that same ancient circuitry fires, even though, unlike your ancestors, your actual survival was never on the line. Here's a strange question. If exclusion feels like injury, does connection feel like medicine? Researchers studying social bonds have found exactly that. Positive social contact appears to lower markers of stress in the body, almost like a physiological reset button. Belonging isn't just pleasant. It regulates you.
Cacioppo's work suggested that chronic loneliness doesn't just feel painful, it correlates with measurable wear on the body over time, similar to the toll of other long-term stressors. So the ache you feel after a friend cancels plans, or after you're left out of a group chat, isn't dramatic, it isn't irrational. It's an alarm system doing exactly what it was designed to do in a world it was never designed for. Your ancestors could not survive alone against the savannah. You are not fighting hyenas or waiting for a hunting party to return before nightfall.
But the part of your brain built to track your place in the group never got the memo that the stakes changed. That is why a slow reply can wreck your afternoon. That is why silence after you speak in a meeting can feel like falling. That is why being the last one picked, even for something trivial, can sting decades later in memories that never fully fade. None of that is oversensitivity. It's ancient architecture, still standing, still doing its job the only way it knows how.
So tonight, when your phone buzzes and it isn't the message you were hoping for, you'll feel that small drop in your chest. And now you'll know what it actually is. Not weakness, not a modern overreaction, just an old alarm, older than agriculture, older than language, still trying to keep you inside the fire, where the group is, where you have always been safest. Because the real threat was never the lion in the grass, it was always the silence of being left behind.